Hey everyone, welcome to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind Podcast. I'm your host, Stevietpfl. It's Tuesday, it's August 25th. It's 2020. We have 10 baseball games to talk about here on today's slate. We're also going to touch on a little bit of basketball. There won't be a basketball morning grind today with only 2 games. So we're going to quickly touch on basketball to get started, and then we'll go into some baseball. But joined by my good buddy, Dean 78904 1566 32-1. Dean, how's it going, my friend?
What's going on, dude? This is I'm excited just for no other reason that I don't have to host the show and do introductions and sign in and sign out. It's a whole thing, and I get to kick back and relax and play the analyst role. Let's do it.
I feel like we need to get a holler on the way out, though. Like it wouldn't be a Dean show if we didn't get a holler on the way out, though.
Oh, that's foreshadowing. It's coming. It's on layaway for sure.
All right, let's talk really quick about this 2-game basketball slate, and then we'll jump into the 10-game baseball slate. Utah, Denver. Quick thoughts on that game. Is there anything jumping off on the board on here?
Yeah, there's a couple of thoughts here. Murray and Mitchell both put up 50 burgers last game, which was pretty amazing. There's definitely some sticker shock to a guy like Mitchell. His asking price is in the high 9Ks on DK, but he's justified it a couple times so far. What I would say, Denver shuffled up their lineup last game, and they took who did they take out of the rotation? Their best defensive player, they basically kicked off the court. And I'm losing his name in my head for some reason. I don't know why. Torrey Craig. Yeah, so he wasn't drawing the start, and I think that he would be the guy you would put on Mitchell. He can't necessarily stop him, but, subdue him to some degree. And, Denver just went with an offensive front. Now, they did bench Porter. Porter's a really solid offensive player, good young player, but he's still learning from a defensive perspective. And if you look at the box score, the minutes are so condensed. They're basically playing 7 guys on each side, and even that, 7's kind of rounding up to 7 guys while they're playing. But, so Gary Harris is questionable, which he hasn't played in the bubble. Barton, to my understanding, is still out, but Harris is questionable. I wouldn't think that he would come back, but you want to keep an eye on that. I can't imagine if he plays, they go out there and throw him out there for 30 minutes, but he was once the starter. So keep an eye on that for sure. And this is their last shot. Denver's down 3-1, which I got this one wrong. I thought Denver would beat Utah. We'll see. I guess they can win in 7 still. Murray still has a really, really appealing price. Mitchell's kind of sort of hard to get there. We live in the world of a salary cap, and Luka Doncic plays in the second game along with Kawhi Leonard. The second game, the Clippers in Denver. Clippers in Dallas has a 235.5 total, which 221.5 for Denver. Utah's a pretty big number as well too. Of course, the 2 best centers on the slate. Jokic battling Gobert, both sort of in play.
Don't play Jokic. There, I summed it up for you.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're going to prioritize Luka over anybody else in the slate, and I'll say this: yeah, you want to prioritize Luka if Porzingis doesn't play, who's currently questionable. He was a late scratch last time out, which he was a late scratch 15 minutes after lock. I don't know if you were following that over the weekend, but a lot of people. I
saw Twitter go crazy about it, but yeah. I wasn't following. I didn't know what was going on, but now that makes sense.
Yeah, so I would assume they'll do a better job on reporting there, but you never really know. And there's what do they say? Integrity fees. I don't know, man. That was pretty suspect, and Porzingis was celebrating like he was into the game. He looked like he could move at least somewhat. But, Luka had, the game of his life. Well, I shouldn't say that because he's only 21 years old, and he might be getting better. He's probably going to get better, and he's just phenomenal. Put up a triple-double while scoring 40 points, went overtime, and hit the game-winner walk-off. It was just an awesome game. Respect to Burke. Burke really stepped up in the absence of Porzingis. If Porzingis is out, they're going to need scoring from a guy like Burke. They're going to need scoring from a guy like Curry. 1 or 2 of those guys would step up. Of course, if Porzingis plays, yes, you can still play Luka plenty. Luka's really, really good no matter what. I would say Paul George has been, I don't want to say a disaster, it's probably hyperbole, but by head standards, he's been dreadful. 20 for 69 in the series, 8 for 36 from 3. That's bad. I don't know if it's a shoulder, if it's a small sample size. I don't really know what's going on. He came out and said, it was a great quote. He's like, I got to say, if I was playing better, I feel like we'd be doing better. It's oh yeah, that's kind of how it works. Kawhi is still awesome, obviously. Harrell, it's just not happening. I don't know what this – maybe eventually he'll round the form, but Montrezl Harrell, we know Montrezl Harrell is this great energy guy. They can go out there, and he has a bigger motor than everybody else coming off from kind of a 6-man along with Lou Williams. but he's been bad. He left the bubble for, I think, a personal matter. He came back and, he's playing like 17 minutes or something like that. He's not been in the closing rotations. He's super cheap, and I don't really know when it's going to happen. Maybe they're saving him for another round or something, but it's hard to get excited about him right now. But Lou off the bench, always in play. He's a guy who can put a 25 real-life points in the bucket, even more. I think he went 35 last game, so he can get there via the scoring sometimes, just the scoring, and he sprinkles in other stuff as well too. But, yeah, I mean, the main thing I would say is, Luka. This is not profound, but you want to get Luka Doncic in your lineup. Of course, it's a 2-game slate, and goofy things happen, and for sure in tournaments you can absolutely fade him. You can justify it because if for whatever reason he puts up like a 45, which is possible, especially if Porzingis goes. And he was dealing with an injury. He was playing through an injury. So as we know right now, or as of the recording tonight, he is probable. Patrick Beverley's doubtful for what it's worth. I would play Shamet over Reggie Jackson, but I probably wouldn't play either. But I have not built the lineup just yet. But then there's a salary restriction. But I'm not enthused about either one of those players, but Shamet's probably a better play than RJax.
You know why I don't play NBA right now? Because I would play Boban and Lou and just play the ceiling. Let's go Boban.
Boban was getting some run last game, actually. And, Dallas was getting wrecked. They were without Porzingis, and they were down 20 in, like, the early second quarter. And they kind of backed it in and said, okay, we'll come back with Porzingis and kind of try to make this work next game. And props to them. Props to Luka. Burke was awesome off the bench. Seth Curry, of course, is a guy, hit open threes all day long. And Boban, he was fine. I don't know what his price is. I should probably scroll and see what his price is. I'm kind of curious, but he can get it done in 15 minutes sometimes. So he's in the rotation.
Do you know why the Clippers are losing?
Because Paul George is not playing particularly well.
Because they're not playing Joakim Noah like that. Like he's a champion. Like. All right, that's enough basketball. Let's talk.
I was gonna go into a whole side story of Doc Rivers' daughter is married to Seth Curry, and didn't historically Paul George cheat on Doc Rivers' daughter like before she was with Curry? But I just think it's weird that like, how does Doc Rivers look at this guy and like that guy cheated on my daughter, allegedly? That's his player.
You're on the bench. No. All right. We got 10 baseball.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good. 10 baseball games to break down here. We're going to start with the Cubs and the Tigers. Tyler Chatwood, Spencer Turnbull. Chatwood coming back from the IL. We really don't have an announcement recording that before as far as like how deep he will go. He did pitch like on the 6th, so about 19 days ago. Dealing with a little bit of a back injury. I didn't see anything. As far as like he threw a bullpen or anything like this. So we'll have to kind of pay attention to Chatwood. What's your thoughts here when it comes to the Chicago Cubs pitcher?
Yeah, I know we're supposed to be excited about rostering anybody that's throwing baseballs against Detroit. I don't expect he's going to go very long. And we're going to talk about it. This slate is really, really pitcher heavy. There's a big opportunity cost a pitcher, and I don't think we're getting a discount, right, as far as the price. So right now, I'm not excited. I think he's fine, and I'm not necessarily looking to load up on Detroit. But if Detroit cheapies are there, I'm more likely to roster Detroit cheap bats if they kind of make everything else work. But yeah, I'm not. I don't fully believe in. The strikeout rate is what we go back with the last 2 seasons for. I'm trying to pull it up. I think it's like 25% up. Yeah, 24.9%. Nailed it. I won both. No, I went over. I was going to say I won both showcase showdowns. Yeah, he walks too many guys. I'm not a Chatwood guy. No. And there's too many good pitchers, and the price is too close to the elite guys. So I can't do it. I know it's the Tigers, but it's a no for me.
Yeah, like if we get some type of announcement that he's going to throw 85 pitches, I think he's in play at 9,100. It's the Tigers. They're so bad. Alec Mills, like he didn't pitch great. He struck out 7, not pitching great. Like, that's how bad this Tigers lineup is. So just got to pay attention to see if we get any type of pitch count when it comes to him. And then on the other side, Turnbull, you already said it. We have a ton of pitchers on this slate. Turnbull's not a guy that's going to go out and, throw the ball by a bunch of people. So I'm gonna pass on him. Do you have any interest in Turnbull?
8.7K for Turnbull? No. There's no chance.
Listen, he started the season on fire. Let's talk Cubs bats. What do you think here of the Chicago Cubbies?
Yeah, well, we saw Baez come alive last night, which is good to see. He's kind of a streaky player. I know it's a whole conversation about, streaks or streaks real. And I was talking about this with somebody else the other day. It's like, I think streaks are real, but I'm not really sure. We can't tell them when they're, when they stop and start until everything is all said and done. We can kind of point and say. So I don't really know when it's going to stop and start. But yeah, in the old vacuum in the Hoover, I like Baez a good bit. I presume he's still 3-1 on FanDuel. Is that still the asking price over there? Because it is. That's a pretty good price. DK specific, I'm pulling it up right now as far as Baez. 4-6, yeah, sure, fine, I suppose. Rizzo is 5-2. That's market price, if not a little bit more. I can't get excited about it. Schwarber, he's probably still pretty cheap over in FanDuel as well, too. He was 2-7 last night, so I presume his price has not moved. Yeah, I'm interested in the bats much more than Turnbull on the Chicago side.
Yeah, the Cubs are going to be massive chalk on FanDuel. Like Baez is 2.9K, Schwarber is 2.7K. So you're gonna see a lot of ownership on the Cubs over on FanDuel. Rizzo's 3.2. Happ is the highest priced guy at 3.3. So I think like you might even see like 4-man Chicago Cubs stacks in like cash games on FanDuel. So I think they're going to be a really popular stack on this slate. I like them on both sites. I think there's enough ways to be different at pitcher on this slate. So don't mind playing a chalky stack with an under-owned pitcher. And as far as like the Detroit bats go, I'm going to say this pretty much every day. I don't have interest in these guys. Like there's just nobody that like I want to play and that I'm going to play.
Yeah, I mean, if only there's like a 2K guy on DK or something like that pops up, randomly in the lineup. Christian Stewart, if he's still like 2.5 or something like that, and I need to make everything else work for sure, but I'm not seeking him out. Just the salary cap constraints. I'll plug somebody in, but I'm not excited about any of the Tigers. As a general thought.
All right, moving on. We got the Yankees and the Braves. Garrett Cole, Ian Anderson. What's your thoughts here on Garrett Cole?
Yeah, Garrett Cole is an absolute stud. He is awesome. Now, it's not so much what I think of Garrett Cole, it's what I think of Giolito, what I think of Luis Castillo and Shane Beaver, and all of them collectively and kind of sort of against each other. Garrett Cole is essentially the same price on FanDuel as he is on DK as he is with Beaver. Beaver's 10-8. Cole is 10-6. I was looking at this pre-show, and I closed it out for whatever reason by accident, but I believe Beaver is 1,000 more than Cole on FanDuel. Can you confirm?
Let's see. FanDuel pricing. Beaver is 12. Cole is 11.
Yeah, this Atlanta Braves lineup, we always think of the Atlanta Braves as a team where, we don't necessarily want to pick on. At least this is what we thought about them last year because they don't strike out a lot. But we, of course, know that has changed with the shuffling up of their lineup. Pulling it up as far as this year.
Acuna is supposed to be back tomorrow.
Oh, I did not see that note. How about Albie? Is he still out, correct?
Albies is still out. Acuna took BP on Sunday and was supposed to be activated for this game. Like, obviously it hasn't happened yet, but, like, he's supposed to be back. And, like, Acuna's getting close, too, for what it's worth. Like, he was hitting in the cages on Friday and Saturday, too.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get a one-off power bat that's super cheap against Cole, I suppose you can do that because he will give up the occasional homer like Scherzer. That's something that will happen for sure. But, like, the K rate is still really good. Last 2 years, 38.5%. If you do the splits, he's actually got a much bigger K rate, much bigger. 41.8% versus lefties. The other side, so I prefer him against the opposite side, and 35.4% against righties. And I was talking about as far as the Atlanta lineup, like you want Riley in there. Riley's going to be overmatched for sure. Matt Adams, if he cracks the lineup, he's a big K guy as well too. There's no Marquez most likely. I'm pretty sure he got hurt. I know he opted back in, but I think he's no longer available right now. NCRT is kind of a scrappy player you don't really want to face. But, yeah, I like Cole a good bit. For sure he's in the conversation as far as my cash game pitchers on DK, on FanDuel as well. I don't think I'm rostering anybody against them on Atlanta. If I get beat by it, so be it. If there's a super cheap punt like an Adams, who can take him deep? Maybe, as a one-off, but I'm not stacking anybody in Atlanta. Welcome back, Acuna, but this is not the night for him.
Marquez is supposed to be back, too. He never tested positive. He went on the COVID-19 list because he thought he was in contact with somebody that had it, and he never actually tested positive. So he's supposed to be activated as well. So we'll see what the lineup looks like. If it's a right-handed heavy lineup, I love Cole. Acuna being back, he's striking out at a 31.5% rate this season. Darno strikes out, Ozuna strikes out, Swanson strikes out, even though Swanson's having a great season. Like, you mentioned Riley striking out. Camargo's the guy that strikes out. So, I'm obviously going to look at the lineup because I think it's going to come down to that. It's going to come down to who's umpiring the games. And, when you're looking at Bauer and Cole, or not Bauer, Beaver. Bieber's the guy, right? Like on the season, but like Bieber against Minnesota, Cole against Atlanta, they're both facing tough matchups. And you already mentioned Lucas Giolito, Luis Castillo. Like these guys have better matchups on paper. So we do have some options and ways to go. And then on the other side, we got Ian Anderson. Big prospect for the Atlanta Braves, going to be making his major league debut. We were talking about this pre-show. Like, this is a guy that started 2019 in Double-A, got called up and, through 5 starts in Triple-A right before the end of the season, gave up a lot of home runs, struggled with walks, but, overall his stuff is promising. But, when I'm seeing Triple-A numbers that bad, usually it's not going to translate. But Dean, this Yankees lineup, you were making the argument, it's
I'm not sure if I lost you or not, but your voice kind of went out for a second. Hopefully we're still good to go. But yeah, I believe it was number 3 overall pick in the draft. He was in the Futures game in 2019, and like a lot of young pitchers, that are uber prospects, he's got great stuff, but he's super wild, and he's flashed some Ks. He's also flashed a lot of walks. I don't know why he would get pushed too deep. I wouldn't think he would get pushed like the 95 or 100 pitches or beyond, but I would say he's 5.5K on FanDuel, and it makes for an interesting dart. Now, there's going to be a mega we talk about opportunity cost all the time. We've already dropped the names of some of the pitchers going tonight. There's going to be some big scores as far as the pitchers. So, of course, you'll be able to load up with the Dodgers bats or something like that, some expensive bats out there to kind of balance things out for you. But he's got to put up a decent score. Now, this Yankees lineup, who is still healthy on the Yankees that's actually going to play baseball tomorrow?
Yeah, we'll have to see what this lineup looks like. But, obviously they're dealing with a ton of injuries right now. So the FanDuel price makes sense. 8.1K on DraftKings is probably too much for my taste over there.
Yeah.
Facing Cole definitely hurts his upside to win the game over on FanDuel too, which I like that. And especially if he's not going to go 6 and get the quality start, he's cheap. But the Cubs are so cheap that it makes it so easy to pay up a pitcher on FanDuel too. So
here's the projected lineup, by the way, for New York. We got Hicks, Voit, Tauchman, Urshela, Gary Sanchez, Gardner, Frazier, Wade, and Estrada. If you guys missed it, Torres went on the IL as well, joining Stanton, joining Judge, and I'm sure I'm probably missing somebody else.
Yeah, it's been a rough go this season for the Yankees. So we'll have to kind of see how it plays out. But do you have any interest in the Yankees bats?
Yeah, I mean, Voigt's been going nuts. What is he at 10 home runs so far this year? Plenty of pop in that bat, obviously. And Anderson, again, we don't know what you're going to get. This is the Forrest Gump. You open up a box of chocolates, you might get the coconut. That's the dud, right? That's the worst. I like to kind of match it up and see the picture, because I don't want it. Who wants the coconut? That's 7 walks in the first inning or something like that. We don't know what we're going to get out of Anderson. He's a stud, not a finished product just yet. And again, this is the presumption he's going to start. I don't think it's officially been announced as of this recording, but that's kind of where we're at. But also, he can go out there and maybe pitch 5 solid innings and strike out 7 or 8. These dudes probably pretty much never seen him before. Advantage pitcher, at least the first time around. It's interesting for tournaments. I don't know if I'm going to play enough lineups to get there. Maybe the Yankee stack, an all or nothing, that kind of thing. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, Yankees are kind of where I think the stack would be, because they opted Touki Toussaint to the bullpen, so he could be a long reliever if Anderson gets in trouble fast. And Touki Toussaint he's struggling this year too. And I'm a huge Touki Toussaint fan. I think he has a ton of talent, but I think Voit home runs in 4 straight games, 5 home runs in the last 4 games. So there's definitely ways to stack the Yankees, and outside of Gary Sanchez, the overall stack is not super expensive because they're on the back end of this team for sure here. So don't mind the Yankee stack. It's not good either,
which is the problem. So yeah, the problem is it's not good, but yeah. These aren't great hitters, but there's some power there. I want to see the lineup. I hate to just sort of cop out, but I got to see what they're rolling out there. But as of right now, Voit seems like the most appealing option.
As far as Atlanta goes, I think Freeman as a one-off is about all I have interest in against Cole. Like Cole does give up a ton of fly balls and hard contact to lefties, and like Freeman's one of the better hitting left-handed, hitters in baseball. I think Freeman as a one-off would be the only way I go. But Dean, like I say all the time, like it's so hard to one-off first basemen because you almost always have first basemen in your stack.
Yeah, I agree with you. Freeman as a one-off is kind of sort of interesting, and that's just one way to be different. That's it. Like if you're making like a chalky stack out there, like you say, as of right now, looks the Cubs, especially in FanDuel, are going to be fairly popular. 10-game slate, so they can only be so popular, I suppose. But yeah, that's one way to be different because most people just aren't going to do that. And like you said, Cole, he's got a monster K rate over 40% versus lefties, but when he's not striking guys out, he'll give up fly balls, he'll give up some homers, and give us hard contact, and that's right up Freeman's alley.
Moving on here, we got Minnesota at Cleveland. Shane Beaver against Rich Hill. Let's start here with Hill. Yeah, let's start here with Rich Hill. Do you have any interest in him?
No, Dick Mountain for me. I'm not interested.
Yeah, like if he was gonna be pitching like deeper into the games, I think like you can make an argument for him. We don't think he's gonna pitch too deep here. He only threw 53 pitches in his last start. Really got beat up by one of the worst offenses in baseball.
Milwaukee.
So listen, Cleveland's been really, really rough this year. But, like, if you look at their numbers since the start of last year instead of just looking at this year, they're a stack to look at on this slate with Rich Hill pitching so bad. And then on the other side, we got Shane Beaver. Great, phenomenal pitcher. He's coming into this start with a 43.3% K rate, almost a 19% swinging strike rate. He's on another planet right now as far as pitching goes. But the matchup is tough. Like, he's facing 5 guys with strikeout rates under 20%. Like, what do we do with Beaver at the top today?
Yeah, I mean, Beaver's just been out of this world, like you said, as far as this season. This season specifically, 40.2 innings so far. His K rate's at 43.3%, which is completely silly. If you want to stretch it back to last year, it's 32.1%, which is still really good. I don't know how sustainable that will be. You don't necessarily need to strike out 40% of dudes to justify that roster spot. Like you said, there is some power. There is some boppers that Minnesota lineup. It's somewhat fearful, but and I would say right away in FanDuel, like it's really hard to make happen. Like we saw it on Monday night with Bauer, who was 12K as well, and he's another guy that has a 40% K rate coming into the season. He actually had a lot of strikeouts on Monday night. He also gave up like multiple homers, which was sort of a problem. It's hard to make lineups work on FanDuel when you have a 12K pitcher. I think you got to have like 2.8 per stick, give or take. You basically can't have Mike Trout. Like there's just certain players you can't have unless you're just rostering a bunch of dudes that are like 2.2 or 2.3 around him. On DK, we're looking at what as far as 10.8K. That seems much more attainable for me. By the way, on DK, I'm hitting the refresh button here. They have Yu Darvish as the pitcher. I don't know what just happened. Is Yu Darvish pitching and not Chatwood? Oh, you know what's going on here? My bad. I clicked the remove non-probables button.
Good job, Dean.
Yeah, well,
I was going to say he just pitched 2 days ago?
Yeah. I removed the remove non-probables click because I was looking for Tuki Tucson. I want to see when he last pitched. He pitched a couple days ago, I think, but threw an inning or something like that. But yeah, I'm like, wait, why is Yu Darvish? Forget everything I just said about the Cubs and Yu Darvish. Fabulous performance, by the way. You guys should have rostered Yu Darvish. I'm sure this podcast recommended him. I would imagine so. It
was on the weekend.
Oh, well, I was trying to give you the victory lap. Yeah, so let's get back on track. The Beavs, right? We're talking about Beaver. He's 10.8K, which, on DK, it's much easier to make these pitchers work because the variance of, roster spots. You've got hitters that are 2.55K. And sure, there's 6K hitters as well, too. But 2K on DK is much different than 2K on FanDuel as far as making things work from a salary construction, a roster construction perspective. So, yeah, I'm excited about Beaver. I know there's some boppers in that Minnesota side, but I don't care. 10.8K. I'm interested. The only other conversation is that there's a lot of other guys that are good too that are a little bit cheaper. But Beaver's 100% in my pool as far as pitchers, and I'm rostering no hitters against them.
Yeah, like he put up 46 DK points against this team earlier this season. The upside is there. I'm not playing anybody against him either. I like Cleveland here, Dean. Like they're Oh, man, I've been burned so much by them this season to start the year. But like Luplow is cheap enough, to make the stack work. But the rest, like they're actually kind of priced up on DraftKings. They're a little bit cheaper over there on FanDuel. So like again, like probably going to end up playing them more on FanDuel. But overall, like I think this is a really interesting spot to look at Cleveland because Rich Hill has really struggled to start the year. Like he's sitting at a 6 xFIP with a strikeout rate under 10% in 2 starts.
Yeah, Rich Hill is a man. He's 40. I mean, so there's a reason why. He's still throwing baseballs. Good for him. Not a lot of velocity on him. If you stretch it back to last year, of course, a big history of injuries, 66 innings just as the sample size. But, yeah, 1.5 homers per 9. The K rate's pretty good, 27.4%. But, yeah, you mentioned Luplow. If you look at the numbers last year, Luplow was one of the top 5, top 10 hitters versus lefties. He didn't, he's the tricky part with him, of course, is what happens when a righty comes in because he gets the hook sometimes. And what's more tilting, Stevie, than like, oh, man, a Luplow is going to come up with the bases loaded. And, oh, yeah, and then all of a sudden they bring a righty in and they go to the commercial break. And that's one of those hidden sweats. It's like they're going to the commercial break like, oh, no, they're going to pitch. They're bringing a righty. Are they going to pitch hit for him? There's that minute and a half where it's like, what's that? Give me Luplow. And, like, he might just ground out, but I just want the opportunity. But, yeah, he rakes versus lefties. I'm super interested in, but I'm always conflicted on this, especially from a cash game perspective, because my at-bats are precious. I want every at-bat I possibly can get. I don't know what to do with him.
Because Zimmer will probably be on the bench too, so if they do have that opportunity, obviously that's a concern. In tournaments, I don't hate to play. In cash games, I hear you. Anyway, let's move it along. Oakland at Texas. We got Shawn Menaio against Kyle Gibson. Do you have any interest in Shawn Menaio here?
No. I mean, well, I probably shouldn't say no right away because it's Texas, right? And this is like the Detroit rule. If you're facing Texas, you're supposed to be at least somewhat interested in. And again, I'll fall back on the opportunity cost at pitcher. He's 7.5 on DK, which is, a fairly reasonable price, I suppose, as far as this Texas lineup. They rolled out that rookie there tonight. I presume he's going to draw the start once again, Tavares. But they did bench Joey Gallo tonight. It's interesting. I was actually watching the broadcast, and they're wondering why Gallo was benched, but like he's been really bad of late. And then they were talking about Odor, who I think they said he's like 1 of 36. One hit in his last 36 at bats versus lefties, and Menaio's another lefty. Not just that, he's a big K rate guy. Gallo, if he's not hitting homers, he's striking out too. Santana, there's plenty of Ks. Menaio is a decent K guy, 29.4%. So I guess I should have some interest. He's got to be in the pool. I'm not excited about it, and what most excites me is his opponent. Close that roof and face this terrible Texas team, and okay, I guess we can do it. We can get 6 innings, 6 or 7 Ks, couple runs, we're fine. And just now we got a few extra dollars for our bats.
My biggest issue with him, I think he'll get some ownership for sure. Like his velocity's been all over the place. Like it was starting to trend in like the right direction, and then like the last start, like. Yeah, he pitched good against Arizona in that start, but the velocity dipped way down. BABIP was really low for him in that game. Like xFIP and FIP were way higher than the ERA in that game. So I don't know, and he's not going to throw like more than like 75 pitches. They do not let him.
Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah, I kind of missed that one, but yeah, he hasn't thrown more than 78 pitches all season, which, obviously it subdues your upside.
So honestly, I probably have way more interest in like Chris Paddock in the same price range, but
100%.
I'm not going to write him off. Overall, I probably won't play him here. We have so many pitchers on this slate that I like more. And then Kyle Gibson on the other side, like this dude is giving up so much hard contact on the season, so much hard contact. And, we do a show every Monday on Grinders Live with me, you, and Kirk Dees. And like he has got me on this like Oakland crushes pitchers that don't throw hard. Well, Kyle Gibson's a guy that like lives in the 91, 92 range. I think like I'm going to stay away from Gibson here, and like I might end up stacking Oakland on this slate.
Yeah, I'm not into Kyle Gibson. Not a lot of upside there. He's just your standard run-of-the-mill, just kind of your average pitcher, right? I feel like I'm pulling the numbers. You have the numbers up in front of you because doesn't he have a history of being reverse splitsy?
He is very reverse splitsy. Yeah, he gives up a lot more power and stuff to righties, and
Well, isn't
it's
Oakland
actually
like a terrible opponent for him then? If that's true.
yeah, like this is because like even like Grossman who would be on the left side and Olsen, like they're good lefties, so like the splits are not too reverse for them. But yeah, like you look at Chapman, Kana, some of these guys, Simeon, like they're probably getting a boost here because Gibson lower strikeout rate, higher walk rate against righties. So I'm gonna pass on Gibson. Like I said, I kind of like this Oakland stack. I think they're super in play here. Depending on like what type of ownership because they're expensive. Maybe might be one of those stacks that on a 10-game slate come in super low owned because nobody wants to pay the prices for them.
And also, I think also people are just thinking that this ballpark is, and it's a small sample size. It looks to be the way, but it's pitcher's ballpark in Texas, right? Presuming the roof is closed. I think people are on top of that, and that's been the early results. And a lot of times first impressions matter, but I think people will kind of stay away from that. But for sure, I have no issue with Oakland as a stack. I pulled it up as far as this is 2018 and 2019. I threw out this year's numbers, just get a bigger sample. As far as the isolated power, Gibson versus lefties 143 versus righties 166. So yeah, more power to the right-hand side, more Ks to the right-hand side too. For what it's worth, 24.8% and just 19.3% versus lefties. And as far as fly balls, good. Doesn't give up a ton of fly balls, just 25% fly balls to righties. But like we said, the more power, at least when the ball's getting hit, more power to the righties as opposed to the lefties. But it's not like this great matchup that's jumping off the page, but it's certainly in play and something that, if you're running up a ton of lineups, I wouldn't completely ignore it.
Do you have any interest in the Texas bats?
Man, they're just terrible. Like, I can't get excited about them. No, I don't think so. They're a terrible ball club. I watched this rookie's first couple of bats tonight. I was hoping for him to swipe a bag because that's what he was known for in the minor leagues. I think he had 30 last year. I presume he's going to bat leadoff, and I presume he's still super cheap. So maybe. But I want to see Menaio as far as how he is at holding on runners, which I don't have in front of me, as far as the battery. But otherwise, yeah, just as like a salary saver, like nobody's going to play Joey Gallo, but you probably shouldn't. But, if you believe – do you believe in the adage – of like this guy he's going to have a day. When he comes back from having his day off, all of a sudden his brain is cleared of whatever sort of terrible things are going on. It's a fresh day. Is that a thing? Is that a narrative?
I don't know. Shawn Menaio is just so like he's so good against lefties. I probably can't like even in his struggles, like he's been good against lefties. So I'll probably pass on Gallo. Gallo makes contact, it goes over the wall, or it's a double. So you always can play Joey Gallo, but
yeah,
you're asking. He's 4,800. You're just asking so much lefty one-off type of play there. So I'll probably pass.
Is there any righty power you like in the Texas side?
No, like Frazier, but I don't trust Todd Frazier.
Trying to steal a bag tonight, old man Todd Frazier.
He does that every once in a while. But yeah,
he's caught. Spoiler alert.
He's 3,600. Yeah, I honestly I don't love it. The young kid, if he bats leadoff again, is only 3K. I don't hate it.
He was 2K in FanDuel last night. So again, if you need a salary saver and he's leading off, he's 2K. I suppose you can do worse. Assuming he's 2K again.
Reds and Brewers, Luis Castillo, Brandon Woodruff, one of the lowest totals that we have on the slate. Castillo, this is a pick'em game. We saw Bauer struggle a little bit against Milwaukee. Just I'm going right back to Weldine. I don't care. This offense has shown me nothing this year. I know Bauer struggled a little bit, but right back to the well for me on a pitcher against Milwaukee with this type of caliber of upside.
Yeah, but my issue is that we've not seen a ceiling game this year from Luis Castillo. It just hasn't against Detroit opening day, or more or less opening day.
Yeah, his first start of the season.
Yeah, but since then he's labored. Last time he pitched 3 1/3, 89 pitches. He's been wild. 2 walks in 3 1/3. He had 2 walks in the start before that in 6 innings. He had 4 walks before that against Cleveland. I wish we had the umpire data. He's one of those guys where I got all obsessed over umpire data, but I want a pitcher's umpire with Luis Castillo. We just haven't seen it. I don't know what's wrong with him. Look at the numbers. Like the K rate's there. The K rate's still over 30% this season. And like you said, this Milwaukee lineup, obviously, there are plenty of Ks to be had, even from the power bats. A guy like Hira, 31%. Yelich, I believe, is striking out more this year for what it's worth. Like he's kind of, it's small sample, whatever. But Yelich is striking out 29.9% this season, that's not what he does historically. And if you look at the plate IQ, everything's popping as far as green outside of like Arcia and Urias. But I like Castillo. It's kind of baked into the price. 9.6K on DK. We're getting a dip in comparison to Beaver. We're getting a dip in comparison to Cole. Rightfully so. Okay, I feel better about those guys. If they're all the same price. Castillo's third, correct? Even the matchup, I think.
It's so close to me. Really going to come down to where I'm at salary-wise. Like, I know Castillo can put up 30 just like Beaver and Cole, and the matchup is so much better for Castillo than it is for Cole and Beaver. But, my initial, reaction when I opened up the slate and I started looking at it was Castillo, Giolito on the same team, just facing those bad offenses and just kind of building around that. But, Paddock is so cheap against Seattle that, you might be able to play, Beaver or Cole with Paddock and have enough to build. But I think they're all, there's 4 really, really good options on this slate at the top.
It's a great slate from a pitching perspective. Yeah. I don't love any hitters yet, necessarily. We talked about the Cubs on FanDuel specifically because of the prices, but, we'll talk about the Dodgers soon enough, too, and if you have salary to make it work against Johnny Cueto and all those gyrations. I mean, I love watching him pitch. He's fun, his movements and all that, but it's smoke and mirrors, and it's barely that these days.
Brandon Woodruff on the other side, Woodruff is a good pitcher. He's proved that he's a good pitcher. He's 8.2K. He has struggled his last couple starts out. He did not pitch well against this team earlier this season either. I'm probably going to pass on Woodruff here. I like Paddock below him. I like Castillo and Giolito above him. I probably won't stack the Reds, but I probably won't play Woodruff here either.
He's another guy that just tends to not be very efficient, and he doesn't go very long. And, he's not a guy that's going to throw 100 pitches. They usually let him go in the mid-80s to 90s or something like that or so. And, we talked about Lance Lynn is a dying breed. Going into Monday night, he had 29 starts consecutively of 100 more pitches thrown. He might have actually not did that tonight. I think they might have pulled him in 99 or something like that. We'll say. I'm curious now. I'm going to go back and check that. These things are important, Stevie. That streak has to continue. But, yeah, I think the problem with Woodruff is he's on the wrong slate. Maybe I don't know who's pitching tomorrow. A lot of good pitchers going tonight. Probably not the same collective as far as talent. If he was on tomorrow night's slate, I'd be much more interested. For sure you can do it. But I do agree Paddock is a better play and he's cheaper. But, yeah, he's a guy that can also strike out 8 or 9. I feel like he's a third time around issue guy, which is something I want to dig into. This is a first look, obviously, and they tend to keep an eye on him the third time around as far as the lineup. But
that bullpen is so good too that if he gets into any kind of trouble the third time through, it's crazy. I was looking there, I was watching a game the other night, and they were they had a graph up on, and they were showing just how few times that they pitchers go 3 times around right now. It's crazy. So
the game has definitely changed.
It has. It's changed a lot. But yeah. Is there any bats in this game? Overall, this is one of those games where I respect both these pitchers. Vegas respects both of these pitchers. I don't ever think you could talk me off of a Castellanos or Moustakas one off. I think Yelich is always in play, but overall, this is a game that I probably will stay away from.
Yeah, I mean, the righties I have no interest in against Woodruff. The lefties, he is more vulnerable. If you stretch back the last 2 years, it's still really good. But the ISO against righties is awesome. It's still good, but not as awesome. Like 153 ISO, which is good. The K is still at 27.8%. Like you said, potential one-off if you need it, if you want to be different or whatever. Nice ballpark. especially for lefty power. If Mr. Steal Your Girl, the flirter, Jesse Winker, if he's like super cheap. But again, we talk about two teams that pinch hit a lot. This is one of those teams, Cincinnati. I don't like to mess with them, lefty-righty stuff, because they do goofy things all the time. I just it's not exciting. It's not Moose, revenge game for Moose, whatever, sure. But I'm more interested in the pitchers in this game as opposed to the hitters.
All right, moving on, we got Pittsburgh at Chicago taking on the White Sox. Steven Brault, Lucas Giolito. Giolito, a big favorite in this game. Any interest here in Brault? Like, he got stretched out finally. Like, he went 80 pitches. So like, this is not going to be like an opener situation anymore. I think that's something that we need to note.
Okay, noted.
No, I mean, I don't have any interest in him.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, like,
yeah,
like he surprisingly came out of nowhere and like went 80 pitches against Cleveland last time out.
Yeah, and that's interesting for sure. But I mean, I assume the Chicago side, the White Sox, Jose Abreu's alive, lots of power on this White Sox side, and that's what I'm interested in much more than Brault. I imagine you are just the same. Is it the Chicago day? Just it's the Cubs and the White Sox. Is that what we're looking at?
Love the White Sox. Love Lucas Giolito. Like, I have been talking about this for weeks upon weeks upon weeks now. Like, the Pirates are bad. They are real. Their offense is bad.
Terrible.
They're last in WRC plus. They're last in WOBA. They're last in ISO against right-handed pitching. Like, this offense is, and like Colin Moran left the game the other day. Like, and like I think he's in concussion protocol. So like, that is one of the lefties that I actually semi-worry about in this lineup. But, like, even Josh Bell, when you look at his numbers this season, 111 ISO, 248 WOBA, 31% K rate. Like, this whole – well, like, Dean, we talk about it all the time. Like, he doesn't have a lot of protection. Like, Polanco is not terrible, but, like, the protection's not there. Like, Brian Reynolds is hitting in front of him and Polanco's hitting behind him. Like, you can pitch around Josh Bell as much as you want right now and make him chase to do anything. So I love Lucas Giolito here. Like, who beats you in this lineup?
So I pulled up the plate IQ, and this is like small sample size this season, obviously, but it's all red, man. And red is bad. Red's mean you're not doing well. The only good green spot is, if you guys don't use plate IQ, you should. It's my favorite thing here at RG. Polanco at 310 as far as his ISO. Good. Whoop-de-doo, and 49 at-bats. And again, these are all small sample size. But collectively, 127 ISO, 244 WOBA, and cherry on top. Well, this is more than this. This is like the ice cream, isn't it? Because K's are king. They strike out at 26.4% collectively. They can't hit, and they're striking out a ton. And Giolito's a stud. So, I mean, can I just roster like 5 pitchers? Will DK allow that today?
Well, that's why, like I was saying, like, you can make an argument for coming down from Beaver and Cole. Like, you really can. Like, Castillo and Giolito are in such great spots. You can make an argument because we do live in a world of a salary cap. And then, like, over on FanDuel, it's a little bit harder to make the argument, right? Cole is 11K, Giolito's 10.4. I still like Lucas Giolito. I'm hoping that, like, we see really low ownership on him because Castillo is 91. I think he's going to be very popular over on FanDuel. So, love the spot. It's a great spot. He should dominate here. I have no interest in the Pirates bat. Zero interest. Not even the old-fashioned like morning grind hedge stack. Zero interest in this spot.
It's one of those weird nights where like I might build a lineup and like I'll save my pitcher for the end on FanDuel. Like, you know what I mean? Like build your stacks and it's like, okay, who do I have left? Like, and now obviously if it's Steven Brault, like you start over again. That's the only pitcher you have left that's available for salary funds. But yeah, it's going to be interesting it's going to be fun making lineups over there. It might be more of a tournament night than a cash game night because, there's so many options you can pick as far as the pitchers. I assume we're picking on Brault.
Yes, we are. Like, have you like looked at Tim Anderson's numbers against lefties this season? Like, they're gonna regress big time. But just insane his numbers against lefties. Like, it's something like an 80% hard contact rate in 25 plate appearances or something like that. So
he's got a 917 ISO. 917 ISO.
It's nutty.
It's 26 plate appearances, but that is insane. Yeah.
I know you don't love hot streaks, Dean, but do we believe in the Jose Abreu hot streak yet?
I believe. Well, the wind was blowing out. I was watching that game too, and yeah, he got helps from a couple homers for sure. But look, I believe in matchups. This matchup is really, really good. Abreu against Brault. Brault is not a good pitcher, obviously. We shoot him away pretty quickly for good reason. Not a big K guy, even worse against righties, 18% K percent. Walks 12% of guys. This is the last 2 seasons stretched out. The WOBA is 340, which is too high. Yeah, pretty good on fly balls. I'll give him that. 31.8%. Sure. There you get a little shout out for Brault. But, yeah, I like that whole side of Anderson, Moncada, Abreu, the kid Robert. Jimenez didn't mean to skip anybody. I'm told Legend has it that James Mccann, Concardi confirmed this. He's a lefty master. I've heard that word in the street. I was getting my shoes signed. Yeah,
he's 4.2K though. It's hard to. I love James McCann, and I play him more than probably everybody in the industry, but it's hard to pay 4 point. Like the problem that you have with the White Sox stack is there's no cheap bat to go with it. I guess Mendick, if he cracks the lineup and you want a cheap bat to go with it. But overall,
it's 2.6 on DK.
Yeah, to stack the White Sox on DraftKings is going to be tough. They're priced up for the guys that you want. So, even if you go like Castillo, Paddock, you're still around like 4K per hitter, and that's still going to be really hard to do. With these guys priced up the way they are. So
DK gives you though, they're still giving those like 2.5, 3K guys to make things work. They're popping up still. We talked about the dude on Texas.
Yeah, but you're not gonna win tournaments with those guys usually though. That's the only problem.
Well, yeah.
I guess it depends on what the White Sox stack do. Like, we've been going here and we really haven't loved a lot of offenses yet for a 10-game slate. So
no,
we're gonna love this offense
like the
though, Dean.
Teams? Go ahead.
The Royals and the Cardinals. Matt Harvey is on this slate. And Adam Wainwright's on this slate. Bet the over in this game.
Well, what year is this game taking place?
Yeah, this is 2020. We're bet the over in this game. Listen, Matt Harvey struck some guys out in his season debut, but he also allowed a ton of power. Do you have any interest in playing Matt Harvey, Dean?
No. I was going through it, and I was checking his velocity. I think it was 93.5 was his velocity in that game. And, it's a far cry from what he used to be. I think he used to throw 96, 97, 95 pretty comfortably. Last year, he was sputtering out to about where he's at right now. He had some 94s, 93s kind of going through his game log. But, good for him for, trying. He probably has a lot of money, and he doesn't have to be throwing baseballs and getting made fun of by idiots on podcasts like us. But I appreciate the effort. But
I appreciate him pitching. He's a guy that it's an instant stack every time he pitches. So I appreciate him going out there and throwing baseballs that go over the fence.
My issue is the Cardinals stink.
Hey, listen, everybody told me the Cardinals stink yesterday, and what they put up 10 runs or something like that. They did plenty.
Yeah, sure, I suppose, but I just have a hard time. Goldie, sure. Carpenter, yeah, I guess. DeYoung, whatever. Yeah, I can't get excited about these guys.
Oh man, I get excited. Brad Miller, I talked about this on the show yesterday. He is crushing the baseball. He's 4.1K. He's crushing the baseball this season. He's just not stop hitting whatsoever. So anyway, let's really quickly talk about Adam Wainwright. Wainwright, he has transformed in this guy that's just going to pitch to ground balls. Strikeout rate is a little higher on the season than I think it will be when the season ends. But this is a guy with a 2 ERA with a 4.3 xFIP. There's regression. It's always like this with ground ball pitchers. My issue with him is it's more of a cutter than a sinker, and I like ground ball guys that throw sinkers way more than I like ground ball guys that throw cutters. So I don't hate the matchup for him, but I don't play Adam Wainwright.
Adam Wainwright this season, 6.3% home run the fly ball rate. That's lucky. 189 BABIP. That's super lucky. Which speaks to his ERA being 2 and his Sierra being 4.55. The ground balls are there, 52%, 30% fly ball rate, 40.7% hard hit rate. Soler, like, why not? Let's get some Soler in our life. I always love him as a one-off. He feels like, for whatever reason, maybe because he plays in Kansas City, just feels like a guy that just gets a little too neglected, unless it was like the beginning of the year and Kansas City was like everybody was 2K. Remember that? Remember the opening on there was 2K on DK? That was fun. We were all playing Miguel Franco for like a week. That happened. But otherwise, I just, Mondesi has been super disappointing. With Merrifield, it just always seems like way too expensive. Sell me on Kansas City.
I don't want to, I think you could play Dozier, Soler, O'Hearn as maybe a 3-man. But it's more of I just don't want to play 8.4 for Wainwright. I'm hoping they score a few runs. He doesn't strike a bunch of people out, and it kind of null and voids itself. But
we can just ignore the game. 4-3 game. Ignore it.
Yeah, Soler is always a guy you can play. He's 4.1K. He has multiple home run upside. Dozier's a guy that has a lot of power too. You could play these guys anytime that you want, and they're in that price range where they're kind of price juicy for this slate when you're looking at the pitchers. So I don't hate it. You throw O'Hearn in there, and you can do whatever you want with the rest of your lineup because he's just always so cheap. Rough year for O'Hearn so far. 0 home runs on the season, but we know historically he has power. It just really hasn't shown yet this year. That's the only concerning thing. But Dean, I love the Cardinals here. I really hope they keep Brad Miller at the top of the order. Because like I was saying, I really like him. A little worried about DeJong. He had such a long break. Overall with COVID and taking time off, and I feel like his timing is going to be something that is going to take him a little while. But we say that, and he had 3 RBIs. He looked decent at the plate. I watched some of this game, so I just overall love the Cardinals here. This is a great spot for them.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I'm not going to sit here and say you can't play guys against Matt Harvey in the year 2020. I don't know what to do with DeJong because I don't know how to project players coming off COVID. I'm sure different players act in different ways and it affect people in different ways, and it's hard to speculate. He just came back, so I don't know. But I mean, if it's DeJong at the standard, right out of the box, Paul DeJong, it's 4.1K. Sure, I have interest in that. But maybe it's just a bias. I find the Cardinals be the most boring team, just the most vanilla, boring team in baseball. There's just nothing sexy about that team. I know they have the greatest fans in the world. Don't at me, but
yeah, it's just one of those things. I think that overall, you're definitely looking at them here. It's Matt Harvey. So moving on, we got the Mariners and the Padres. Marco Gonzalez, Chris Paddock. Any interest here in Marco Gonzalez?
I'll give the same answer I gave before. I think it's the wrong slate for him. It's 6.6K. So, and he's a guy that if you catch him on the right night, he can go 7 innings. That's something he can do. He's one of their. I guess he's their ace by default in Seattle. I think. I feel like he is. He's like their horse. He's like their Lance. There's their Lance Lynn. He's a guy that can let go for 100 pitches or so. The veteran that they're not really concerned about his arm so much. The problem is he's very average, just sort of he's one of those guys that I generally don't seek out to pick on, and I'm just almost never going to roster unless I'm desperate for a night. And we spoke about it multiple times now. The arms are really good. Now, it does open up some salary at 6.6K, so that's the most appealing thing about him. If he can kind of eke his way to 15, and all of a sudden you could load up on White Sox or load up on Dodgers, then sure, then we're talking. But otherwise, again, not seeking him out, but if he's something that kind of makes everything else work, I guess you can in a pinch, but that's not something I want to do.
Lance Lynn threw 105 pitches, by the way.
There you go. You got there.
But yeah, Marco Gonzalez is probably the only guy that I would play under Shawn Menaio. But
Let's see.
I also think like the Padres could win you a tournament on this slate too. So I don't know.
I
I
agree with
love
that, by the way. There's not a lot of guys, but I agree. No Rich Hill, no Gibson, no Young, no Cueto, no Brault, no Harvey. So I do agree. He's the cheapest guy you can consider rostering on DK.
Paddock on the other side, it's been very, very hit or miss for him to start the year. Like, he's looked great in some starts, and then some starts he's really struggled. And we see that with younger arms sometimes. But, like, this is a spot that you can close your eyes and just hope that he gets there. They called it Fraley. They traded Vogelbach to the Blue Jays. That takes away some strikeouts. We have no idea what to expect from Fraley, prospect. But yeah, like, I don't know. Overall, Dean, I think that Paddock is cheap enough that like we just gotta play him here.
You want as many righties as possible in this lineup. They did lose Vogelbach, but they still have Haggerty, a switch hitter, Crawford, the lefty, Seager, the lefty, Fraley is a lefty, and Long's a lefty. So we're going to project 4 righties versus 5 lefties. His case over the last 2 years, 29.8% versus righties, which is really good. 22.3% versus lefties, which is, kind of sort of league average, and give much more power to lefties as well, too, a 208 ISO. But I think the price kind of puts you there, and the matchup in the Seattle offense is not very scary, obviously. And what lefty power bats are we afraid of? I suppose a guy like Seager can bang one out. But, Lewis, the rookie's been really solid, but he's coming at it from the right side. He's striking out a bunch, too, but he's shown plenty of pop as well. But the price at 7.8K, it's really hard. It's you could have Paddock, I presume. I haven't built the lineup just yet, but I presume Paddock is one of the studs you've already mentioned. And, also get some premium bats as well, too, and kind of the best of both worlds. So that's kind of what I'm looking at in my head right now. This is a first look, but Paddock is my SP2 with one of the big arms. What say you?
No, yeah, I already kind of mentioned. I like how that build looks. As far as the bats for Seattle goes, you can always play Austin Nola. I think he's one of the better hitting catchers in baseball. But outside of that, Seager's always a little interesting. He's not a guy that typically strikes out. He makes a lot of hard contact. But overall, I don't love Seattle here. Like, Seager as a one-off, Nola as a one-off if you want to pay up a little bit of catcher, but I'm not going to go out of my way to play these guys.
Yeah, that's that same thought. If like Seager's the last man in as a one-off, like, okay, and Paddock's not in the lineup, whatever. I suppose I can do that. I suppose I can do worse, but that's not what I'm trying to do. As far as picking on Marco Gonzalez, what are we doing? Are we considering Tatis and Machado?
I think you have to, right? You have to consider San Diego at this time. Like, they have so much upside. They're expensive. Well, Tatis is expensive and Machado is expensive. The rest of the stack is actually really affordable. Because if you're stacking San Diego, I know it's a lefty with Gresham, but like you're hoping that you get Gonzalez out there early enough. Ty France is really cheap. Will Myers is really cheap. If you want a cheap catcher, Austin Hedges is like 2.9K. He's been terrible to start the year, but like just throwing names out there. I think they're in play. I think they can win you a tournament. The upside for San Diego, they can win you a tournament. So like whether you want to 3 or 5 man them, I think they're in play here. Like I said, you put Tatis and Machado in there and you make them 5 man. The other 3 guys are going to be all under 4K, so it's super stackable.
Do you believe having a low home run to fly ball rate is a skill?
I believe some pitchers just throw to ground balls, and Marco Gonzalez is one of those guys that his fly ball rate is way up this season. And if he continues to give up a lot of fly balls and a lot of hard contact like he is right now, we're going to see that number really increase. And we've seen guys for years be able to do it. It's just the ballpark helps him too. Like, he pitches in Seattle. So like the ballpark helps him as well. But overall, like, most of the time when I'm looking at that kind of stuff, I want to see it still be a ground ball pitcher. Like, I don't like fly ball pitchers that give up a lot of hard contact.
Yeah, I mean, stretch it back to last year, last 2 seasons, 41% ground ball rate, his fly ball rate at 38.4%, but his home run the fly ball rate, 232 innings as far as the sample size, is 9.5%, which is, that's really good. You can argue he's been lucky. Maybe he's getting a lot of pop-ups. Who was the guy? Like Marco Estrada was always the guy we would talk about his home run, the fly ball rate, and he gets a lot of pop-ups. So you got to keep digging, I suppose. But just on the surface, looking at that number, it's like, well, that seems like maybe he's been a little bit lucky.
Hey, it's Stevietpfl telling you there are 100 million reasons why you should listen up. DraftKings, the leader in one-day fantasy sports, is celebrating the return of sports by giving up to $100 million in prizes to all of their customers, including one lucky winner who will take home a $1 million cash prize. To claim your share of up to $100 million in instant giveaways, all you have to do is download the app, sign up using promo code GRIND, and then enter DraftKings free football survivor pool. Yes, it's really that easy to claim your share of up to $100 million in instant giveaways and put yourself in the running to win a $1 million cash prize. While the top prize is reserved for one lucky winner, everyone who signs up and enters DraftKings free football survivor pool will receive an instant bonus of at least $5 in value upon entering. I got $3. So while you're in the app, don't forget.
That's not at least $5.
Yeah, was it? Yeah, maybe it was $5. While you're in the app, don't forget to check out all the great daily fantasy. I think I got tickets too. Contest DraftKings is hosting for this week's basketball and golf action. Download the DraftKings app now and use promo code GRIND to claim your share of $100 million in instant giveaways and put yourself in the running for the $1 million top cash prize. That's promo code GRIND to get your share of $100 million in prizes only at DraftKings. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details. Rockies and Diamondbacks, Herman Marquez against Alex Young. Man, Arizona really let us down on Monday. Herman Marquez is a guy that when he's outside of Coors, he flashes some big upside. Overall this season, we really haven't had that, huge Herman Marquez game outside of when he faced the Giants. This is a spot that he's kind of interesting. I think a lot of people will go Paddock, and he's really interesting for tournaments.
Yeah, or if you really want to open things up, you have a double barrel as far as the mid-tier guys. You have Herman Marquez and, pair him with Paddock or something like that. Then you can have some fun as well, too. But, yeah, I'm kind of an Aaron truther to some extent. You prefer him on the road, obviously. Stretch it back the last 2 years, 24% K rate, really solid when it comes to walks as well, too, is 5%. This Arizona lineup, it's funny, they went from chalky to, I think they're going to be mostly neglected. It's interesting how things change from slate to slate, obviously. And the Arizona lineup has not been good this year. Basically, outside of Calhoun, Ketel Marte's lost his power. I'm not ready to – small sample sizes. I'm not ready to say it's gone, but he's not been in for power at all. Both Martes have been kind of subdued this year. Disappointing. I like Marquez. Pretty fair price. Maybe if you look at ownership and you want to make the same lineup, make the same exact lineup with one with Paddock and one with Marquez. I do that sometimes, or just if you're somebody that makes multiple lineups, just kind of swap one in, swap one out, and it's certainly plausible that Marquez can outscore Paddock by 15 points. These things do happen, and that could be a huge separator in tournaments. And you talk about how it's going to be, your lineups are chalky. That's one way to become unchalky. Just move one player or just one hitter. That's just something you can do. And you'll have a 1v1, and if a large percentage of it you're going against, you're probably going to lose, I suppose. Paddock is probably going to be favored from the projections, I would imagine. Probably not by much. But, just a thought there, just throwing out there for tournaments. I'm not in on Arizona. I'm out on Arizona. I like Marquez. I haven't looked at the prices yet. Unless somebody's crazy cheap, I'm out. What say you?
Yeah, no interest for me. Yeah, no interest. And then, Alex Young, I know, he's had some upside, strikeout-wise to start the season, but, he still gives up so much while striking guys out. We saw, he started the season more of, a bullpen, one-inning type of guy, and, they've stretched him out a little bit. And, when you look on paper, his strikeout stuff is super interesting. But, yeah, overall, I don't have interest here. I like picking on Colorado when they're outside of Coors, but, we know the roof's going to be open in Arizona, and just overall, I don't have any interest in him.
Yeah, he's another guy, like you said, he finally let him go as far as pitches. He threw 86 last time out. and that was in 4 innings. Gave up a couple homers. And lefties, obviously the two guys that jump out on the Colorado side are Story and Arenado. For what it's worth, Blackman was a late scratch for Colorado tonight on Monday night. I don't know the reason for it. Just going to keep an eye on it. That'll make the lineup a little bit weaker. Maybe they give him another day. Who really knows? I'm not terribly enthused with Young. I guess he's one of those cheapies that, like, I suppose that Colorado lineups without Blackman, and there's Matt Kemp. Once upon a time used to be able to hit lefties, but I'm not a Matt Kemp truther in 2020. Like, that's just not happening on my end. It's hard to get excited. I suppose we could talk about Story and Arenado as when Colorado's outside of cores, then just nobody plays them. Like, that's just they're not in cores, you can't play them. They'll even look and see if they're facing a lefty. They just cross them off the list. So Story hit a bomb on Monday night. Like, I think it's still going. It was ridiculous to lead off the game. But for tournaments, I like Story and Arenado. That's kind of the cheap way out. I don't know if they make a cash game build. Probably not. They're probably too expensive to justify it. But they got to be in your tournament pool. Otherwise, there's not much else to get excited about.
I got $10 in tickets, by the way, when I did I had to go back and look and see what it gave me. It was $10 in tickets. So
I got at least 5. Yeah, nice.
Yeah. So
like
Story, Arenado, or $10 in like DK dollar, whatever it is. Story, Arenado are fantastic plays. I know Arenado really hasn't had like that big game against lefties. I'm not looking at like a 29 plate appearance sample size for him. I'm looking at 3 or 4 years of sample for him. He crushes lefties. So, like, my issue here is if Blackman's out, like, we'll have to see what this lineup looks like. Because, like, if they go, like, maybe Hampson, Story, Arenado, then, like, you can make an argument for, making, like, a little 3-man stack here.
Sure.
But, like, if they throw some random, lefty in there, like, it's harder,
Tapia.
to get that. Yeah, like, it's just harder to get that overall. So the good thing is, like, Hampson's 4K, and, like, nobody's going to play him at that price. Story's 52, Arenado's 49. Like, they're going to be lower owned here just because of the pricing. So I was trying to pull it up on the fly. Like, I played Story on a couple teams, and I couldn't remember what his ownership was on a 7-game slate, but I can't find it. So anyway, yeah. Do you have any interest in Arizona? Like, you kind of mentioned it. Yeah.
You?
No, I don't. Like, Cole Calhoun as a one-off would be the only guy. Like, he is super. Like, he is having like a really underrated season. Like, his BABIP is 220. Like, he has some positive regression coming. Like, we all love the Cole Calhoun home run on Monday. We all played him. It was nice. But, yeah, like, he'd be the only guy. Like, he's 3.8K. Like, I think he's definitely in play.
I do agree it's a good price. And, like, Peralta's a pretty good price there at 3.5 as well in DK. And if the prices are not changed on FanDuel, Calhoun was like 2.9 on Monday. So if that's still the same, that's pretty reasonable as well, too. Just looking for somebody that has some upside that's fairly cheap. But nothing about the matchup says, like, I have to pick on, Marquez. And by the way, we're going to talk about the hammer that is the Dodgers in San Francisco in a second. And I was taking shots at Johnny Cueto during the podcast, and I guess I must have missed one. He's been good. Like, I missed his start against the Angels. I must have forgot that happened. He's been serviceable to good of late. And he's not one negative score all season. Shout out Johnny Cueto.
Yeah, like, I don't know.
I'm not rostering him for the record.
We'll see. Let's talk about it. Dodgers, Giants, Julio Urias against Johnny Cueto. Urias, like, I didn't see anything injury-wise or anything like that, but, like, his last time out, like, 1 2/3, he threw 52 pitches.
He had a labored inning.
Yeah, like, he only had 1 walk. It was just rough. And, like, it's not like, if you look at, like, what he did in 1 2/3, he put up 8.5 or 8.8, and, like, all right, like, if he would have got a few more innings, maybe he would have had a good game. Overall, like, I like the Giants against left-handed pitching this season. I think they're very underrated. And Dean, like, this would be the 3rd time Urias is going to be facing this offense in such a short season. Like, I'm going to pass on Julio Urias here.
Yeah, I mean, we talk, they handle people with kid gloves, child gloves for Urias because the Dodgers are thinking, long term, or thinking World Series. There's no reason to push this guy. He's a young, big arm, who, by the way, has been more disappointing than not. He came in with a lot of fanfare, justifiably so, and like the K's haven't really been there. He's not pitching many innings. The price at 9.5 is egregious. The cost per pitch for Urias at 9.5K, I just cannot talk to that. No chance. As far as rostering San Francisco guys, I'll leave that to you. I'm trying to pull up Cueto. I want to see what he's doing this year as far as if this is fluky or if he's been good. And I'm pulling it up, and I'm stalling, and I'm trying to buy my pages. Let's see. 31 innings so far this year, 348 as far as walks per 9, 21% Ks. Okay, so lucky as far as BABIP at 238. His ERA is 4.35. His Sierra is 4.8. 42% ground balls, 41% fly balls, 33% hard hit rate. Is there anything we're seeing in Cueto? 8.3% is probably a homer to fly balls. So that's lucky there as well too.
He's getting really lucky. Like his fly ball rate is high. He's still giving up a lot of hard contact. Like the only thing, like his changeup has been better. Like not like generating a ton of like power and stuff. So like that's a little bit to what it is. I noticed that in his last start when I was like breaking it down on like, because like I was gonna stack the Angels and like it kept me off of him a little bit. Like I think I still rolled an Angel stack out there, but like it's the same argument, right? This will be the third time Johnny Cueto's faced the Dodgers. Like they've seen him a ton this season, and they're one of the best offenses in baseball. There's regression coming to Johnny Cueto's numbers. Like you mentioned, his Sierra, his xFIP is almost a point higher than his ERA. The BABIP is really low. Johnny Cueto is crafty, but he's not crafty enough to beat the Dodgers here. And like San Francisco is playing as a much better hitter's ballpark with the gates like closed off this year. So I love the Dodgers here. Hate Cueto.
Yeah, I mean, he's gotten the better of him for the most part this year. He hasn't really shut him down, but he hasn't been shellacked either. I figure that
third time's the charm, Dean.
for you, I figure I'd pull up the BVP stuff. I want to see if there's anything kind of popping because like you said, they face each other a good bit. Anything interesting there? The Leprechaun Justin Turner, 12 for 35, a couple homers.
He'll be back too. He was dealing with a hamstring injury, and they said he'll be back today.
I like Seager. Seager and Bellinger. Bellinger hasn't hit him well, but I don't care. Yeah. Go ahead.
Like really quick, like just look at like Betts, Seager, Turner, Bellinger. They're all under 15% strikeout rate. They all have power. Like I know Bellinger, I'm so on the fence with him on what to do with him, but like 4 home runs in the last 5 games. He's starting to finally hit the baseball like Cody Bellinger. Like, yeah, like he's 5,700 and you got to pay for him, but like, okay, whatever. Max Muncy's 5.4K. They're somewhat cheap. Like Max Muncy's 3.4K on FanDuel. Super cheap over there. Justin Turner's 3K. Like FanDuel is just like not watching baseball this season.
Yeah, I love the Dodgers on FanDuel. Those are the prices. By the way, the fun part of the Cueto thing here, the Giants historically, once upon a time, were known for having good bullpens. Disastrous bullpen so far this year. No team has given up more home runs out of the bullpen. They've given up 25 homers so far. They're the worst team in baseball in the bullpen when it comes to Sierra as well. Their Sierra is, let me go ahead and pull this up. Yeah, 5.006, worse than the Marlins. When you're worse than the Marlins in anything, Sierra, attendance, whatever it may be, payroll, this is bad. Yeah, the Giant. That's the hidden gem is you get those the late inning homers against a terrible Giants bullpen.
Do you have any interest in the Giants? I know you kind of said that you didn't.
I passed it off to you. My initial thought is not really because the Giants have a really good bullpen, and I don't know how
Dodgers,
long.
You mean?
Yeah, the Dodgers. My apologies. Yeah. So Urias is a good young arm that's kind of up and down and whatever. But any sign that they're going to hook him, and somebody pretty good's probably going to come in. It's a pretty good pen, one of the best in baseball.
Yeah, like I won't pay for Solano. Like I think he's way overpriced for a guy that is going to be more of an on base guy. He's not going to really win you a tournament most nights. But like Wilmer Flores, he
Oh yeah.
crushes lefties. Like Yaz, like he's just a guy that keeps crushing, and nobody's going to play him on this slate. And Urias has been terrible. Like 60% fly ball rate, 70% hard hit rate against lefties this season. This dude has a 457 ISO and 42 plate appearances against lefties this season. Like, he's hitting everything. So you can throw him in there. You can throw Flores. You can throw Longoria. I'm guessing Bart is still pretty cheap. Like, he's 3.7K. It stinks because, like, the fifth person that I always like in my stack is Slater, and he's on the IL. He got hurt the other night.
So tilting because, like, that was multiple nights for me back-to-back, and nobody cares. Nobody likes hearing tilt stories, but, like, very first inning running the bases, he pulled his groin. They needed a pinch runner, and like he was like my highest owned player that night. AC Slater, it was unfortunate, but yeah. And they have Flores projected as the leadoff hitter according to RG at least. That may change, but he was hitting leadoff. Slater, that is. So obviously they need somebody to hit at the top, and it'll probably won't be Yaz, like maybe Solano.
Like you mentioned, like the cheap guys. Darren Ruff is 2.1K.
On DK.
On DraftKings. Like,
That's
he's an outfield eligible 2.1K. Darren Ruff, he was really bad. But like he went to the KBO and he was crushing. So like I have a little interest in Ruff at 2.1K just overall, not just like as a giant stack, but like he's still a guy with some power, and we don't get a lot of guys under like 2.5K that have power. So Darren Ruff is really interesting, but like the pinch hit risk is very high with him because like Duggar will be on the bench, so there'll be a couple lefties on the bench. So like the pinch hit risk is really, really high. A lot of the good arms in the bullpen for the Dodgers are righties too. So I think Ferguson. There's one more, like McGee, right? Like they have two really strong lefty bullpen guys, but most of them are righties.
I cannot confirm or deny.
I watch way too many Dodgers games, team. Yeah. Way too many Dodgers games.
You mentioned the KBO, and we talked about the White Sox power, and I got nostalgic because, not nostalgic, but, former White Sox, power hitter David Polka is in the KBO right now. So shout out to him.
There you go.
You remember him? He used to play alongside Matt Davidson, one of those terrible White Sox teams. They were all or nothing.
Oh, man, Matt Davidson. Oh, anyway. I still like. I ended up making money on Monday, but oh man, it could have been so much more. It wasn't looking good, and like my Houston stack kind of brought me back. So, all right, let's play the morning grind game, and then we're gonna get out of here. Pull up DraftKings, Dean. We're gonna use DK pricing for this one. Again, if you guys haven't checked out DraftKings for some odd reason, make sure you use promo code GRIND when you download the app over there. Under 8K to get 6 or more strikeouts, Dean. Who do you got?
I mean, come on. I mean, you know who I'm going to say here, right? This is like too easy. It's got to be Paddock.
Yeah. Like it was clear cut top option there. Like I'm going to say Shawn Menaio. I still don't love him today, but like he's the next best option to get 6 or more strikeouts if he throws enough pitches. Over 8K to score under 15. Who's your bust pitcher on the slate?
Ooh, I like that question. Oh man, it's got to be like Wainwright or Turnbull. It's Wainwright or Turnbull, possibly Chatwood. All three of those guys. How about that?
Well, you got to pick one.
I can't multi-enter?
No, you got to pick one. Who do you got?
I'm going to say Turnbull.
All right. I'm going to go with Anderson.
Score? Is there a score for this?
Yeah, there is.
I saw you writing something down.
Yes. Look, I got my pen. I got my notebook.
I saw that.
Over 4K to hit a home run. We don't have course, so it can be anybody you want over 4K to hit a home run.
Ooh. Oh man, who's gonna homer today? I should have prepared for this. Over 4K. Let's see. I'm gonna say Max Muncy.
All right, I like that one. Listen, I said this guy was going to homer yesterday. I'm going back to the well on Brad Miller. He's going to hit a home run today. Like he still had a really good day, so like I'm not mad that he didn't homer, but
home run
really
points.
wanted to homer from. What's that?
He got home run points.
He did. I think he ended up with like 13 or 14 points. So like it was still a really good day for him. Yeah. So, Under 4K to get 2 hits. Give me a guy under 4K to get 2 hits.
Ooh.
Miller
Man.
got 15 points, so I'm not mad about that.
Oh, I was not prepared for this. Unbelievable. Oh, I'm a terrible guest. I apologize. Can you go first?
Sure, Matt Carpenter.
Oh,
I'm making it very clear who I like here.
You can't buy some time from. I was trying to buy some time.
I have a list of guys that I like as we were going, but I do this every day, so
I don't write stuff down. It's all kind of in the dome, and I've been exposed.
I only write down the game stuff and the stacks that I like as we're going through, or the stacks that I want to dig into.
I will say Joseph Bart.
I like that one. I thought E5 is a good one too. He is 3.8K on DraftKings. Cole Calhoun is still really underpriced over there, so just a couple names for you. Stack to score 6 or more runs, Dean. Who do you got?
Yeah, we like the White Sox.
All right. I'm going to finish out, I feel like my whole game today has been the Cardinals.
Can I guess?
St. Louis.
Say St. Louis.
So, any final thoughts before we get out of here? What's that?
Matt Carpenter. I'm changing my answer to Matt Carpenter. Isn't he under 4K?
That's who I picked.
Oh. I've been terrible.
Buy me more time. You weren't paying attention. Yeah.
I heard it subliminally, apparently, but yeah, well, there you go. Bart is just because he's probably going to be my catcher. At least ideally, I want to be my catcher, despite the fact that
I think Carantini is going to be your catcher, but I won't argue with you.
Is he super cheap, Carantini?
He's 2.6K, so
yeah.
Going up against Turnbull, I'm guessing that's probably where you're going to end up at catcher. But
are they running out 2 catchers again? The Cubs have been doing that of late, but
they have. Well, they have so many injuries right now, So, yeah. Any final thoughts, Dean?
No. Well, hey, all my opinions are going to change. I'll be on Grinders Live. Actually, Grinders Live is going to be a different time because there's a basketball crunch time. Grinders Live on Tuesday will be 5 to 6, and I think the crunch time, I'm going to guess it's like a baseball basketball crunch time. I imagine that's what's going on because they kind of cross over. They both start around whatever. Check your local listings, but I'm pretty sure that tomorrow is a 5 o'clock Eastern as opposed to 5:30. Grinders Live with myself and I think Boggs Light for the first time this year.
Yep, it'll be Dean and Boggs, 5 o'clock. So there you go. I was scheduled for the rest of the week, but I got the rest of the week off out of nowhere. So I'm not complaining about that. So yeah, but
enjoy the your midday off. You got NASCAR to tend to, I suppose.
I got put on a best ball show, so I'll be doing that later this week instead of Grinders Live. So
who's your favorite pick in best ball?
Joe Mixon is the guy that I land on a lot so far. Yeah, he's kind of the guy that I'm landing on way more than I probably am comfortable with, but whatever, he's my guy now, so it is what it is. So
I'll just say this: I've been doing best ball shows. I've been doing it with Beer Makers fan and Chris Jamino. If you guys don't know Jamino, if you like anything here at RG, he has his hand in it in some way. One of the masters behind the scenes, and they're the XFL guru once upon a time. Maybe again when the season, when they come back under the guidance of The Rock. Ownership projections, things of that sort. We've been doing videos. You can find them on the RotoGrinders feed on YouTube, where basically 4 teams or 5 teams you would focus on for an hour. And if you guys doing best ball, I suggest you guys check them out because those are 2 really smart football minds. Go ahead. I cut you off.
The show I'm doing later this week is with beer, so I'm excited to do that. It'd be fun.
He's locked in. Just a heads up. He's going to take you down.
No, not going to happen. So I'm not worried. No worries. So, well, that's going to wrap it up here for Tuesday. We'll be back tomorrow with Will talking some more baseball. Good luck in your contests, and we'll see you then.
Sorry I wasn't Will. Holler.